get in the corner, you got to click end stream, the orange button when we're done.
Right, I gotcha. All right, let's see here. And I think we are live. Let us know in the chat if you can see us, hear us, all that good stuff. Yo, Platinum Beast, Constitutional Stacker. What's going on, Homestead? All right. Let's see here.
Neil's is in the house. Yeah, we're live. It's hot.
Yep. We are live. All right. What's going on, everybody? How's everybody doing today? Got Constitutional Stacker in the house. We're doing ourselves a good old just interview here, and we got this thing going.
What's up, man? Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. I hope everyone, I hope everyone from my channel comes over to your channel that doesn't know you. That's kind of what I like about live streams. You know, we can interact and increase the stacking community and the reach that we have, which is a great tool.
Yeah, that'd be real nice. That'd be real nice if we could get that going. All right, we got West Texas in here. I know you were talking about him last night, Constitutional. West
Indeed,
Texas
I was
is here. Says he's late, but you're only like a second late, bud. So you're good. You're good.
Detention for a week. A&L Futures, what's up? What's up?
Yep, we got
Shadow Work is in the house. Nice.
We got Joseph Lopez. Yep.
Yep, right on. So if y'all don't know Platinum Beast, you know, if any of you came over here from my end, you should show his channel the love. Just saying.
Yeah.
So
I definitely appreciate that.
How long have you been stacking, man? And what did you start stacking, and why did you start stacking, and what turned you on to platinum? I don't know what you started with, so that's kind of what I'm curious about.
So yeah, I get that question a lot. Pretty much basically from birth. I had my granddaddy used to give me a silver eagle for my birthday and Christmas every year from like birth. And I never understood what that was or even what those things were. It was just a cool little shiny what have you, along with whatever else he got me. And I just collected them over the years. And then as I got older, closer to adulthood, really, I didn't really take interest in my like teen years or anything, but close to adulthood, I really decided to take an interest and see what this was all about, and just went on Google and was like, US silver dollar, blah, 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 just to learn more about it, and started learning about precious metals sort of in that sense. And then once I learned about platinum, I really looked at the charts and I looked at the history, and I just did a whole bunch of research, and I was like, why is this like so much different, but also a precious metal? And that's really kind of how I got into platinum. So it did definitely started off with silver, and gold was too expensive for me at like 18 years old. So I bought silver, and then sort of as I started getting more and more silver, it started adding up and becoming just like a whole crazy, a lot of stuff. And I was like, all right, I need to take a look at some other things. So I looked at gold, I looked at platinum, and just took a real liking to platinum, really. I mean, I just think it's the most undervalued metal right now, and all different kinds of stuff. I mean, a lot of people say that about silver, but I think platinum's even more so, really.
So do you have any gold, or are you just
yeah, I do have gold. I do stack gold. I don't have most of it here with me. I mean, I've got a little bit, as you can see here, but I do stack gold too. So I do all the precious metals. I don't have any palladium. Unfortunately, my state charges sales tax on palladium, and I've kind of been waiting to see on palladium. I do want to pick some up in the future, but I'll have to get it probably through like a private sale or something to avoid that sales tax, especially if I'm going to spend like $1,000 or more on an ounce. I don't want to spend another 9% sales tax on top of that.
It's funny you say that, because I want to get into palladium at some point too. I don't have any. So that's weird. So did they just charge sales tax on palladium and not silver, gold, and platinum?
Yeah. So
I've never heard of that. That's crazy.
Yeah. So we don't have any sales tax on platinum, gold, or silver. The only two that are taxed in this state, well, any metal besides those three is taxed, but the only ones that anyone really buys is palladium, and then also copper, like copper bullions and copper rounds. If I buy that, I would get taxed, but I don't really buy that. But
Well, it's funny because they tax people on the least beneficial metal to buy in bullion form because of the premium. That's just
right.
crazy. That's just another reason not to stack copper bullion, in my opinion.
Right. Yeah. The only thing I can come up with is when they decided to exempt precious metals from taxes, palladium and copper weren't really seen as investment metals, so they weren't added to the list. Is the only thing, the only logic I can find in why that is the way it is.
That's weird, man. I didn't know any state just like specifically, did palladium like that pretty much as far as precious metals. So something interesting about platinum that I've noticed. I mean, I only started stacking platinum since January. I've only got 2.1 ounces. That's not bad since January. But if you look at the denomination on the coins, right, it's twice that of gold, which is funny to me because throughout a good portion of history, platinum was worth a lot of times twice what gold was worth. So when people say it's not it's not a money, it's not a monetary metal, I struggle with that because it's got money, monetary value printed on it. It's a precious metal, and like the other precious metals, it's a world market.
Right. I really think it just boils down a lot to the time at which you either started stacking or have been stacking or whatever, because a lot of people really lost their shirt back when platinum hit its all-time high and then went straight to the bottom fairly quickly, way back in like 2008 to like late 2008. So when that happened, I think a lot of people just lost their shirt if they had a little bit of platinum. And so I think that really turned a lot of people off completely. And so they preached like a message that, platinum's not a monetary metal for that reason. But I mean, realistically, you can look at March of 2020 and see the markets and say the same thing. I mean, crazy economic things can happen that can send the value of any commodity down to the bottom. And I don't really think that's a smart way to just throw it away completely. But that's the only thing I can come up with as to why there's a large group of people, I would say, that don't like platinum.
I agree with that, and I think a bunch of those people that don't like platinum simply don't understand it, and don't have it. I remember that price shift. I mean, platinum and palladium seemingly switched positions as far as value overnight almost for a while there. Speaking of which, palladium is the only metal that's up today. According to Money Metals, it's up 450. That's crazy. I haven't looked until now. But yeah, I think a lot of people just don't understand it, because it doesn't have the history. It hasn't been talked about as much.
Right there. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. So it's not like a since the dawn of time metal. It was only discovered a few hundred years ago as far as being classified and everything. And so, yeah, a lot of people, it's very different. You have to understand that if you're going to stack it, that it's different from gold and silver. But like you, I think it's a monetary metal too. It moves, and it moves just like you mentioned with the palladium. Platinum can do the same thing where it moves completely different than like gold or silver or whatever. Sometimes it can end up being the top performing, and sometimes it's not, obviously. And also platinum and palladium, a lot of the times end up moving a lot more or less than the gold and silver. Silver goes up $1 and gold goes up 1 or 2%, and everyone starts going crazy. Whereas platinum sometimes can move 5 to 10% up or 5 to 10% down. And so it's a little more volatile. And I think that probably turns people off a little bit too. So,
well, I don't know if you feel the same way or not, but I've always viewed, how people say that silver follows gold as far as performance, and that's generally true. I've always viewed platinum and palladium kind of as competing metals, but I've noticed that's not quite the case as it used to be. Have you noticed that too?
Yeah, definitely. They sometimes can go along with each other, and then sometimes can just be far, far apart. It's interesting.
Do you have any theories on why that is?
Well, the thing about platinum and palladium and all the platinum group metals is a lot of them, or most of them, the reason they call them platinum group metals is because they are all so similar to one another that sometimes if industry is using one of the metals, that one will react differently if they don't use another platinum group metal. So like with the automotive industry and stuff like that, a lot of the talk has been, they've been switching from way back in the day when platinum was twice the price of gold. The auto manufacturers figured out that, we can use palladium in our emissions control devices and systems, and we can produce the same result. And it is half the price of platinum at that point. So they were like, well, we're just going to switch over to that and, save a lot of money producing cars or whatever. And so a lot of people say that's what drove the price of platinum down. There's multiple different reasons over time, I think, but a lot of people point to that and say that's why platinum went down and palladium went up. And so because they're so interchangeable, I think that has to do with it. Also, I think depending on the metal, palladium and platinum, they're mined in different places in the world. And if that particular place in the world is having issues, either economically or politically or whatever, that can impact the price too. Whereas, like they say, I believe it's about 80% of the world's palladium is mined in Russia. So if Russia's having issues and they can't continue mining or whatever, then that could send the price up. Or if industry decides to switch over to a metal because of Russia's issues, that could send the price down and all different kinds of things. So I really think those are the two main driving factors: is what is industry using? Is it platinum? Is it palladium? And it can switch back and forth in history. And then also, where are these metals being mined majority wise, and what's going on in those countries where they're being mined? So I think that's why they can kind of act a little differently from one another, but they can also be very similar, because if they're close enough in price, then they'll probably stick around each other for a while, which is what we've seen with palladium and platinum being within $100 of each other for, I don't know how long now, but a little while now.
I totally agree with the theory about the automotive thing, because if you look at the timing, that's about when the price change happened. But now, I mean, I think mining and what's going on politically in those locations has more to do with it than anything, it seems like. So it's funny how things change as far as that goes. Now, are you strictly physical only?
Yes, I don't get into the paper aspect of things. I know a lot of people do like trading the paper shares and the contracts and stuff like that, but I stick, as far as precious metals, I stick strictly to physical. I just don't. A big part of me really does believe that there's way too many paper contracts to physical metal, and so I think that realistically, with all precious metals, that kind of drives the price down quite a bit, because there's this idea that there's so much out there and there's not. And, when a certain industry needs these metals and there's just not enough, like, I think that really could send off the price. I mean, I don't know if that's accurate, but that's kind of how I feel a little bit about the paper aspect. So I don't know what happens to paper contracts if everyone tries to take delivery or what. I mean, I guess they'll just be paid out in cash or something, but I stay away from the paper stuff. How about yourself?
I also do agree that China is suppressing the price of platinum. I do, not so much in like metals ETFs. I play, like, I have some platinum mining stocks. I have some gold mining stocks. I have some silver mining stocks. So I play metals I have some copper mining stocks as well. And I've done pretty well across the board. I play in those markets, but I don't play with like SLV or GLD or anything like that. I have. And I mean, honestly, as far as a cash perspective, as far as a cash profit, when silver price goes up, usually SLV goes up, driving the price of silver up. So I may again at some point, but I don't have any at the moment. It's all in mining stocks.
Right. I can definitely see how you can make money by buying and selling that kind of stuff. But for me, precious metals is much more of a like long-term kind of thing. So but I could see how you could be pretty profitable in trading the paper shares and things like that. Mining companies, though, are can be a very good investment though, because then you're investing in the company that's actually mining the metal.
Well, it's funny because I don't trade physical metal. I only trade, stocks and stuff for
Right.
more physical metal because I usually put the profits into metal, but like physical metal. But it's funny because what you were just saying about mining stocks, there's a big disconnect with a lot of stackers where, I'll never do mining stocks. Well, I'll tell you what, I think going out and supporting those companies that go out and mine this stuff and refine this stuff and put it in our stacks, I think there's worse things to do than that, personally. I've never understood that logic where people despise mining stocks so much, because there's a lot of people out there that won't touch them with a 10-foot pole. I love it because what they do puts metal in my stack.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I think there's a large group of people that just don't like digital anything really.
Absolutely.
If I'm being honest. And so they only buy physical metals, and they that's what they like, and they just have an issue. But I do see the potential for mining stocks, especially because these are you're investing in the people that are bringing you the physical metal. So, I mean, I see it as a profitable endeavor for sure. And I have in the past actually invested in mining stocks. I don't believe I have any of my holdings right now, but I'm not opposed to that at all. And I have been known to invest in mining stocks, just not paper contracts for the metals.
Well, and the way I look at it too is my goal is, metals are money. I want as much of it as I can get. I mean, I don't believe there's a lot of people out there who say, man, I wish I didn't have as much money as I have. So if metals are money, and I'm not likely to be able to save myself into extreme wealth with stacking metals alone, I have to find a way to make profits elsewhere and put into metals, because it's really hard to save yourself into a high amount of wealth unless you have an incredibly high income, which I don't.
Right. I think most of us are like that. I mean, you can just put all your extra money into metals, and ultimately it'll go up over time. But you're not going to make nearly as much money as quickly as like you could investing in other assets, for sure. Now, those other assets do come with a little bit more risk, I think, but you just kind of have to weigh that in your own mind and stuff like that.
Oh, absolutely. And while we're not financial advisors, if I had to pick between one thing and one thing only, it would be metals, because they're safer.
Right, exactly.
But like you said, the potential, there's less risk, but there's also less potential gains to be made, I would say. I mean, You're going to make gains, but they're going to be smaller. So metals where I'm comfortable and I feel safe as far as storing my wealth. But I've gotten to a point in the last couple of years where I just want more of it and more of it and more of it. And that's the way I see that I can make that happen,
Right. Exactly. I mean, and I know, and that kind of brings me into something else. A lot of my viewers and people that comment and stuff like that, a lot of people really like cryptos. I don't know what your views are on them, but I stay out of them completely. I know a lot of people use them to buy metals. They buy low, they sell high in the crypto market, and they use their extra cash to buy metals. And that's great for people that are able to do that. The volatility, I can't wrap my head around quite all there, but that kind of brings or makes me think of that when we talk about finding another way to produce money for metals. So I think another selling point of metals for me is the lower volatility, because I'm already less likely to invest in a very volatile market like cryptos are pretty regularly. And so metals provide that for me. So the only volatility I get into really is like stock markets and companies and stuff like that. But I do my research and I try to pick what I think is probably the least volatile, but going to make me the most money, and just weigh my risk tolerance there, if that makes sense.
It does. To answer your question, in the last couple of weeks, I purchased 1/10 of an ounce of platinum, 2/10 of an ounce of gold, a couple ounces of silver, and I think maybe something else. I don't know. And that was all done with crypto profits. I sold some crypto, and the timing worked out perfectly because it dropped after I sold it. And I got lucky on that one. But I have a lot of different cryptos. I use Bitcoin as a blue chip, although I did sell some of it to get metal. And I like SHIB, and I like some other altcoins. But honestly, I've done fairly well in crypto in the last 6 months. So I think it's weird. I think it's an electronic asset. I don't think it's 100% safe. But again, I can't argue with the potential. I can't argue with the fact that I've been able to make some gains, sell 50% of those gains and put it into metals, and then keep the principal. I mean, I can't complain about that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I really wish I could get myself to get into it, but I just haven't yet. And I know a lot of people like you and a lot of other people have made a lot of money and been able to put that money into metals while keeping their principal and everything. I feel like if I got into it, I'd just get into it at the bottom, and then I guess you could. I guess the idea is you can wait until it goes up and then sell, but I don't really know. I mean, it's one of those interesting things. I guess I'll probably come around to it at some point, but I just haven't yet.
Well, I pretty much buy everything. I buy. People say, "Oh, what do you invest in?" And my answer truly is everything. Right. Different kinds of stocks across the board. I hold probably 8 different cryptos. I mean, from XRP and Cardano to Bitcoin. But see, here's the thing with Bitcoin. It's likely not going to make anybody rich at this point because, these guys saying Bitcoin's going to $2 million. I think that's hogwash. It could happen. But so what is it? I haven't looked today. It's probably between 60 and 65. Right. At best, I think you can expect your money to double. Well, unless you got 60 grand in there or 100 grand in there, you're not making a ton of money if it doubles. The percentage is okay, but what you're making, because how much can people put into Bitcoin? Maybe a couple $100. So that's not a great return. That's why I play the other altcoins, like the cheap ones, like SHIB. I think there's great opportunity there. And it's so cheap you can buy thousands of them for pennies,
Right.
So I'll take that gamble all day long. I don't view Bitcoin as something that's going to make me rich ever.
Yeah.
Just because it's so expensive now. I mean, and like I said, if it doubles, cool. I made, menial amounts because I couldn't afford to put that much in anyway because it was so expensive.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, I got Algo also, Neil. I have Algo. I got a bunch of stuff. Yeah, it's 1 million SHIB for $10 right now, according to A&L. I mean, dude, I'll take that bet.
Right.
If I lose $10, man, I think I'll be okay.
Yeah. But actually, that kind of brings me or makes me think of. So that's really been a selling point for Platinum on a lot of my recent videos. I've been talking about is how if you are stacking precious metals like gold and silver, Platinum can really help you kind of diversify. Like you said, you've got your money, you're invested in literally everything. And when you take a look at Platinum, it's really not going down below $900 an ounce. That's really the bottom. We've been saying this for a while. And so, as far as putting a little bit of your money into Platinum, and if it does take off, then you will have made that initial investment. But you don't have to give up all your gold and silver and everything. It just helps, I think, diversify. So I think that's what really kind of probably makes you a really good. And it makes sense that you're in Platinum because you like investing in literally everything, because at any moment, anything can take off.
Well, I'll tell you how I ended up getting into Platinum. Yes, Neil likes to say that he's the one that convinced me. He played a part. He played a part in it. So did nickel stacking. So did Stackers University. But even before that, I looked at the charts. I'm like, wonder if I should get into this. But I had a lot of questions about liquidity. And I don't shop at my old LCS anymore. That's a story I'm not going to get into. Anyone wants to know, they can email me. But anyway, I saw Platinum in a shop a couple times. I'm like, okay. So LCSs, at least some of them do buy it. So if I ever want to get rid of it, that won't be an issue. And then I go on to moneymetals.com, which is the best price on Platinum I have found. And that's where I get most of it. They'll buy it back all day long. So once I had some questions answered, I was comfortable getting into it. And one of the reasons I got into it is because this is going to make a lot of people mad. But I was a gold hater for years. It was beyond what I thought was in my reach when I started stacking. So I just stuck to silver. And I've never found gold. There are some gold pieces I really, really like, but overall, I've never found it extremely aesthetically pleasing to me. Again, there are some pieces I like, but I started noticing, okay, I need to get into gold. I mean, I have thousands of ounces of silver. I don't even know how much because I've been doing it so long. But I'm really light on gold, and I had zero platinum, and I thought to myself, okay, these metals need to be in the portfolio. I have so much silver. If silver ever does really well, I'm covered there. So that made gold and platinum really become more appealing to me, especially platinum. And I think platinum struggles to get to that $1,000 an ounce again. And I think once it hits that and holds for a while, I think it's going to be very, very good times for platinum at a slow, steady pace.
Right. Yeah, I think so too. And that's really what really for years on my channel, way back in the day, I used to talk a lot about that. We got to hit that $1,000 threshold and we got to hold it. The most recent time we did that was 2021, but really 2021 was kind of an interesting year coming off 2020, where pretty much all investments were really kind of doing fairly well, especially technology and stuff. But yeah, I mean, and I'm kind of the same way in gold. Like when I first started stacking and stuff, I kind of wasn't all into getting into it. And I really kind of fight with myself getting it every now and then. I do pick it up still. It's just right now it's basically all-time high. I just have a hard time doing it. It seems like it's never going to come down because it's been at least a little while here, about a month or maybe a little more, where it's been over $2,000. And yeah, I mean, it's interesting stuff for sure. This past week was very interesting, I think. Well, and we still got another day, I guess, but precious metals have been doing just crazy this week, really across the board.
You know, it's funny you say that about gold. I had that struggle for a long time too. And I actually went to Money Metals, their website, and they have a gold and a silver price history chart. Man, from 1980 to now, gold has done nothing but go up. I mean, it has its down years, but dude, in 1980, it was worth something like obscene, like $150, $200. It was worth nothing.
Right.
And I look at the overall performance of gold, and I'm comfortable putting money into gold. I know it's high, but statistics and history tells me I'm going to win. And silver too, to a lesser degree. But again, I have so much of it. You know, I'm stacking a couple ounces here and there now. I'm not stacking 50, 60, 100 ounces a month like I was for a while. You know, I just, because I'm there, I'm covered. But when it comes to gold, man, if you guys take the time to go look at that chart, you'll see what I'm saying. So yeah, it's expensive, and I get it. It sucks. And due to changes in my life, I'm forced to buy 10th ounce gold, which is not my favorite because the premiums are so much higher on 10th ounce gold than they are on 10th ounce platinum, it seems like. But that being said, I'm comfortable doing it because I see its pathway, and it's insane. And the other reason I never really loved gold is because I love what gold does for me. I have a saying. Okay, so gold doesn't do nearly what silver and platinum can do for humanity as far as its uses. It just doesn't, and that's just a fact. People will say, "Oh, gold's the best." Well, that you're letting emotion cloud your judgment because that's not true as far as its uses. It doesn't do a lot, but the world is obsessed with gold. Therefore, I must have it too. That's what I really believe.
Right. Yeah. I think the same about what you said, and I've really been looking closely at it too because I haven't bought any gold at all this year yet. I did buy last year, but this year I haven't bought any because I've just been sort of. Initially, my thoughts were, we would get back down below, that $2,000 threshold, but the more I think about it, the more, if it doesn't happen sooner rather than later, I'll probably start splitting my pickups between platinum and gold, probably.
Well, it's funny you say that. Do you know what I'm doing right now?
What's that?
So I filled a tube of 1/10 ounce platinum, a 20 tube to get 2 ounces under my belt, right?
Nice.
And then I bought another tube, and I'm going to do a 1-to-1 ratio of 10th ounce gold to 10th ounce platinum. So I'll have an ounce of gold in that tube and an ounce of platinum in the same tube. I'm kind of making it fun, I'm splitting between gold and platinum.
Right. Yeah.
And I've got 0.2 of an ounce of gold in that so far, and only 1 ounce of platinum, or 1/10 ounce of platinum. So the next purchase is going to have to be platinum to even it out. But I'm kind of making it a game.
Yeah, I mean, and that's really what you got to do is you just got to kind of make it fun like that. But yeah, that's a great way of going about it. You know, pick up a platinum, pick up a gold, pick up a platinum, and I think that's what is going to end up. I'm going to end up doing going into the second half of this year is just slowly add, because like you said, you know, when you look at the gold charts and you really kind of think about it, yeah, the price is high, yeah, it could go down a little bit lower, but realistically, you know, holding, if you make that your ultimate long-term hold, I mean, it just goes up. I mean, you know, that saying is like a Wall Street bets thing, I guess, is stocks only go up, but like realistically, gold literally just goes up. I mean, that's all it does.
So are you looking in the chat where Jim says now he has nothing but wants to start, to be honest. And then Texas said start with silver, which I agree with. But then Jim says he lives in Europe. Okay, now here's the thing for Europe. Being a silver stacker in Europe is rough because of the VAT tax.
Right.
And to my understanding, there's no VAT tax on gold in Europe. So if you live somewhere where you got the VAT tax and you can afford gold might not be a bad way to go in your situation because you don't have to pay the ridiculous tax on it. So I feel for people that have to pay that VAT tax. I think that sucks.
Yeah,
I don't like it.
Yeah, for sure. That is really annoying. I mean, we're blessed here in the States. Well, some states I guess have taxes on certain bullions. Mine's luckily not platinum, gold, and silver, but yeah, I mean, Europe, it's real tough to be a silver and platinum stacker over there because they just charge. And I think the VAT's like something stupid, like 20% or something.
Yeah, I would say, is it like 20 or 30 or something? It's insane.
It makes you really, you know, we complain about taxes over here in the States, but like we're like, it's like 20%. Oh my.
Well, and then it makes me think it's like, okay, they really don't want people stacking silver, which means they need to have some silver because if the government doesn't want you to have it, you should have it. But it's like, why don't they want people to have silver? Why do they make it so hard and so expensive? And is there a VAT tax on platinum?
I believe so. I think I saw like Backyard Bullion. He's a pretty big guy on YouTube.
Right.
He's British. I think he did say that when he buys platinum, he has to pay VAT. I think it's just gold that's exempt.
That's interesting because you know that they don't want people having gold either because gold is freedom. So but they really don't want people having silver and platinum if the VAT tax applies to both. It's so strange to me. And I think their official reason is something ridiculous like, well, gold's a monetary metal. I don't know. I once looked this up, but it's just you poor people over there across the pond, man. I feel for you.
Yeah. Well, what's really kind of dumb is at the very least, the dumbest thing I've ever just never understood is places where there's sales tax on bullion, and not just like bullion, but like in America, our platinum eagles, our silver eagles, our gold eagles, they have a monetary value on them. So like an ounce of platinum eagle, 1 ounce has $100 printed on it, you know, backed by the Federal Reserve or whatever. And so when I take my money, in a way, I'm just exchanging it for a different type of money that's still considered money from the same people that printed my bills that I'm bringing to the coin store. So like, am I buying something, or am I just like, if I go to a bank with $100 and I say, give me $100 in pennies, they're not going to charge me tax on that.
Right.
Because I'm just exchanging, right. I'm exchanging one form of the same country's currency for another form of the same country's currency. So in Europe, they should at the very least not charge the VAT on their own sovereign bullion, I think.
Right. I agree with you.
Because it's all backed by them.
You know, whether or not you consider cash money, society considers cash to be money these days. So if I'm exchanging money for money, why am I taxed? It's just crazy. So do you remember, of course you do, it last night, you asked me, how can you live in Oregon because of the politics kind of thing?
Yeah.
Here's something else. And I don't know if you read my response, which is 100% true, but here's another benefit. You know what we don't have here that you have there?
Oh, so you don't have sales tax, do you?
Nope. We have income tax, but you know what else we don't have?
What?
Bullion tax.
Oh, there you go.
Not at all.
That's nice. Yeah, the sales tax is one of the things that I hate just more than anything. I mean, income tax, yeah, I hate that too. But I mean, I can understand, police, fire, school, whatever has to be paid for in some way. So, I mean, I can understand why there needs to be taxes, but
Neil, sorry, I
taxing your income, it like discourages you to work more and make more because then you'll be taxed more. It's just like, I don't know, certain taxes. And then sales tax, if it was really one or the other, but you see down here in Georgia, we have income and sales tax. So,
but see, and from what I've gathered in those states, though, that sucks. But you have your income tax is less than mine percent wise,
probably.
And so between sales tax and income tax, it's usually in most scenarios about the same. I mean, for most, and because generally my income tax is going to be higher than that of a state that has both, but they're going to make up for what they pay in sales tax. And the cool thing about sales tax, I think it should be sales tax only because, how do I say this? The people that aren't contributing to the system by going to work that are benefiting from the tax help, at least they're paying some of that back through sales tax because they're not doing it through income tax. So I do like that aspect.
Right.
If you know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand that. And I've actually looked into, because we have two neighbor states that have no income tax, Tennessee and Florida. And I'm fairly close to Tennessee, about an hour and a half away. And so I visit there a lot and I buy things there occasionally. And their sales tax is maybe like 2% more than what we have here. And they have no income tax. So like when I really think about that, I'm like, when I visit there, it kind of sucks because I don't want to pay 10% income or sales tax, but I know the people that live there are probably okay with just, the sales tax and not having to deal with the income. But I agree with you on that aspect is that, if somebody's not working or not making money or whatever, but they're, receiving money in some way or form, they still get taxed. And I think that kind of goes along with what was that idea tossed around in politics? They don't talk about it too much these days, but it used to be a lot of the politicians were talking about doing like a fair tax where basically like what you said, sales tax is a lot higher, but it's like everybody pays it. And, the guy who's buying $1 million house pays the 10-15% sales tax on that, and the guy who buys the small house that doesn't cost as much, his tax burden is less because he's buying less, and so it just makes it fair for everyone, where the wealthy still pay more technically because they're buying more, but it just kind of makes sense. So I'm right there with you on that.
Well, and they could accomplish the same thing by making the tax rate the same for everybody. Like if it was 20% across the board, the guy buying the mansion and the guy buying the shiplap house that's about to fall apart, they're still both paying the same percentage. It's just one is a bigger net chunk of cash.
Right.
So it could also be achieved that way, I think.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true.
I don't know, man. Things are in a bad way down here. I don't know if you heard, you know what Oregon did a few years back with decriminalization.
I heard. Well, didn't was it the mayor or the governor? Didn't they take that back just like yesterday or something?
Monday. Yeah. And she's a leftist governor, but I got to tell you, she's way better than the last one, which I never thought I'd say. I thought she'd be worse because she's getting rid of the tolls that they were putting in place on the bridges, which amazes me. And then Monday she signed the bill that went through it was a bipartisan bill that Oregon passed, and she signed it. September 1st, we're going back to how it used to be in that respect. So I'm actually, I don't know how long it's going to take to have an impact, but dude, it's a mess, brother. It's so bad down here.
Yeah, I've heard nothing but, I mean, and you can't trust everything you hear on the news, but it seems very bleak down there or over there.
It's pretty rough. So I live just outside of Portland. I live in Milwaukee, which is a nice town. But when I go through Portland, oh my dude, it's like a third world country, man, driving through. And now I'm working down in Salem. That's even worse than Portland, dude.
Jeez.
Oh my God, man, it's so bad.
That's
it's
insane.
So bad. We had to hire, so we were removing 5 to 10 of them a day at work. Oh, and they were getting, kind of violent. So now the property manager that we rent from, because all the businesses got together, said, hey, we're sick of this. They hired on-site security, and it's a whole lot better. But they know what days he's off. So those days are always a nightmare. But I hope it makes an impact in time. But yeah, September 1, that it goes back to the old methods pretty much.
Wow. Well, we'll see how that turns out for y'all. I mean, hopefully that'll help.
I don't care what somebody does in their house, but when you're out in public and you know what I mean?
I was just about to mention that. I was watching the news last night, and they were talking about that specifically. They were saying, the problem with this whole idea they had in doing this was they just decided to enact one side when really they should have done like what you said, is just make it like, if you're out in the streets doing this madness, like you're going away. But like if you're doing it in your house, I mean, nobody wants people doing that stuff, but like if it can stay contained, I guess, in a house, then it doesn't impact the rest of society. And it's just interesting how they didn't think about just that simple thing, like
I never understood that either, man. I didn't. I mean, whether I agree or disagree with it, whatever poison somebody has, if it's in their own house, I mean, and they're transporting it from where they get it to their house, they're not smashing windows, they're not leaving trash on the street. Hey, to each their own. And why they didn't put that in there is beyond me. And the other problem is a lot of people come here from places like Idaho and Montana and Arizona. I got a buddy that's a cop that I talk to frequently, and he deals with these people on the street a lot of the time. And he's like, "Oh, you got an Arizona ID. What are you doing here?" And they say, "Well, I get more benefits here. They actually they bought me a bus ticket to come here." So that's the other problem, is we're incentivizing people to come here because we're paying them, benefits, if you will, and we're allowing them to do whatever they want.
That's crazy.
It's 100% true, brother.
Man, and it's crazy, all the things you said, like in this stream about that, and like in the email you sent last night. It's so crazy that just the things that go on. Some things you just like super excited about and happy about, and then other things you're like, what? And usually those two don't happen within one place, like you were saying, Oregon's a very 2A state.
Believe it or not, it actually is.
But then you have like the policies that they just got rid of, but they implemented, and it's like, what? Like, how is this like?
So here, because I have an Oregon CHL, concealed handgun license, I'm bound to the state constitution. So there are certain municipalities, locals that have, well, if you open carry, it can't be loaded. I'm exempt from that because I'm bound to state law because I have my carry card. I have 3, but Oregon's one of them. And up until recently, as a card holder, I could go into a public school and they could not stop me if I was packing. Now, the previous governor signed some deal where each school district can decide individually, and I can go into a bar as long as I'm not drinking, and I can be packing heat there too, 100% legal. You go to Arizona, you go to Texas, you can't do any of those things. And everyone thinks they're so pro 2A. They're really not. So Oregon's a mess, but between the bullion tax not being here and the 2A, there are some good things. It's very strange, as you say, how we can have awesomeness on this side and horrible on the other side. It's crazy.
Right.
It's so bizarre, man.
All right. Because usually, I mean, politics in this country these days is just so divided. It's just like it seems like you either got to be like all on one side or all on the other to do anything or get elected or whatever. So the fact that Oregon is able to, like, the governor isn't pushed to, get rid of firearms and at the same time, do all the other stuff. It's like crazy how they can win like their elections, but not, do certain things that, the left and everything wants. I don't know. It's just very interesting.
Well, and Oregon's a special state in ways because you go down to California, you can't even have a friggin' BB gun, it seems like. Right? Now,
have you seen?
It's the same in Washington, dude. Washington, 10-round mags, banned. ARs, an AR, if you didn't have one previously, banned. If I bring mine up there, I'm a felon now.
Right.
And I've got a Washington carry card, but I can't carry over 10 rounds, and I can't carry certain styles of weapons but in Oregon, they tried passing that. The court said, no, the voters voted it in, supposedly, and the state said, no, we ain't doing that. The state courts kept striking it down. So for some reason, what flies in other states doesn't fly in Oregon yet, and we're right between the two states. It's weird. What were you going to ask me? I'm sorry.
I was going to say, have you seen down in California? They what was it? They banned pistol grips on rifles. So have you seen how creative the gun industry has gotten? With
Yeah,
what
a little bit, a little bit.
they do like the fins and stuff, and like there's basically no hand. They make AR-15s, but it has like no handle, and so it's the craziest stuff. Like, but that's politicians. Like they enact stuff, and then people find a workaround that
Yep.
gets around it, and it's just like it's funny.
It's funny. I was thinking of Jeremiah Babe earlier, and A&L brings up Jeremiah Babe is all about the protection, and he's still stuck in Palm Desert. And I watch him frequently. I like Jeremiah Babe. I do. I don't think he fully understands the stock market personally, because he'll say how it's not connected to the economy, which is 100% true, and he'll say how it keeps going up and up and up, which is true. But he'll say, the crash is coming. He's been saying that for years. And I think he's right at some point, but I really like his channel. And when he tells people how bad it is down there, he's not lying. I've been down to California recently, and it looks just like this place. Like he's telling the 100% truth. It's crazy.
Right.
Yeah. You don't have any of that going on in Georgia, really, do you?
No, we don't. I mean,
What about Atlanta? What's it like there?
So in Atlanta, well, actually, I actually live in Atlanta, but I live in like a very, very nice side of town. But so Atlanta's kind of interesting because, we definitely have sections of the city that have a lot of issues. And a lot of that has been sort of creeping its way into some of the nicer areas, not really my area, but some of the nicer areas. And, but it's nothing like what you've talked about and stuff. A lot of that has to do with what I heard from a friend of mine who actually lived in Portland. She said that the laws around like camping, I guess, are different here than in Oregon, where I don't know if this is true. Maybe you can elaborate, but I've heard in Oregon, you can basically just set up shop anywhere and just do whatever you want. And it's
correct.
But down here in the city and in this state, the police will come in and they'll move you out. Now there's certain sections where I guess that's allowed or whatever, or, the homeless will set up camp and then the police will come and move them or tell them to go somewhere else and they'll just find another spot. But because they're always like moving and stuff, it's not really concentrated. So the issues we do have, and we're not a perfect city or anything, but we don't have anything like what I've at least seen on like the news and stuff that y'all deal with out there and in California and stuff. It's not like that at all here.
So it's funny you mentioned that, because that's true. Now, certain like the town I live in, Milwaukee, they don't allow it. They do not allow it. But you go one city over, Portland. Come on in. I'm not kidding you. You'll be driving down the highway in Portland, and you'll see trash piles and camps, and the trash goes 10, 15, 20 feet high sometimes. I'm not kidding. Wow. And it goes on for a half mile strips. The freeways are covered in graffiti. Here's a question. How do they get up on those massive overpasses that don't have pedestrian bridges that are like 200 feet up in the air? Are they bringing trucks in the middle of the night and hoisting these people up there to do it? How are they getting up there? But it's a mess.
That's crazy.
Now I am starting to see, not like local cops in Portland, but like Oregon State Police. They're starting to remove a lot more camps, but they come back within no time. But it's very weird. And what Oregon's done, and I don't know if this is still a thing, I think it is, and I think it's set to take place June 1st of this year. They passed a deal to where if counties don't provide enough housing for those folks, enough beds is the wording, and it doesn't specify a number, then people can camp anywhere on, and they call it camping, can camp anywhere on public property that they want.
Jeez.
So out here, what they're doing is they're buying up all these old hotels and they're making them centers for those people.
Yeah. We don't have anything like that at all over here.
Dude, it's a mess.
Yeah, it sounds like it. It's just some crazy stuff. But yeah, down here in the city, it's pretty just very certain areas that have issues. And really most people are able, I guess, because we just don't. Atlanta's not a big like come to this town because you have, I guess, like you were mentioning with Portland, you get a lot of benefits and stuff. if you come from all over the place. Whereas Atlanta, there's just not all that available. So I guess it doesn't draw as many people in. So
Funny how that works.
yeah. So those that do have income issues or life issues or whatever, most of them are able to get government housing, and then the few that aren't, I reckon, are just they I mean, you'll see tents, I guess, here and there occasionally, but most of it doesn't really last long, and it's not very concentrated or anything. Now,
Atlanta's a big town. Oh, go ahead.
Oh yeah, it is. I was just gonna say, yeah, crime is an issue in certain areas of the city, but even that, it's not like the whole entire city. Like it's very small pieces, really. It's really down by our airport. Like we have the busiest airport in the world, and right around the airport, I always tell people, like when they fly in or if they're coming here and they don't know the area, I'm like, you're good as long as you don't go anywhere near the airport, because there's like issues all around there. But that's really in like the south west part of the city. If you're away from that, you're pretty much good. I mean, it's really not, you really don't run into too many issues.
Crazy. It's just, and you would think in Atlanta, being as large as it is, that they would have some of the similar problems, but it just doesn't sound like it's anywhere near.
Right. I will say though, it has in the recent and probably the past, especially with the way the political climate is, one side wants to back police, the other doesn't. It definitely has changed over the years. We had a mayor in Atlanta who really, she was only mayor for a couple of years, and she took that whole, taking the side of the people over the police kind of thing. And she only served like 2 years, and then she just quit because we had an issue where there was like this guy who got unfortunately shot by the police, and everyone took the side of the criminal, and he was clearly in the wrong, and it was pretty much a clean cut case. But she ended up firing the officer, and then half the department quit. And then it was sort of crazy during that time period for like maybe 6 to 9 months. And then, it got better, but she ended up quitting. And then we got a new mayor in who's still on the left side of things. I mean, that's any inner city, but it's gotten much better. And luckily it didn't escalate further than just like a few months of craziness, really. It was mostly during those riots and stuff during like 2020 and 2021 and stuff. And I bet whatever we experienced here was like 10 times worse over there.
The news would have you believe that it only went on for 3 or 4 or 5 months out here. It went on every night for at least 2 years.
Wow.
Every night. Granted, as time went by, it was on a smaller scale, but every night there were fires. Every night. Jeez. And now they're gearing up for it again come November because they're fearful of what may or may not take place.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, well, maybe if you prosecuted these people and actually held them accountable, less of them would do it.
Yeah, that's very. I mean, that's. I really do think that's why things are like a lot better in like a town like Atlanta or like towns around here, is because, we just, maybe not everybody, but we back our police a whole lot, and like we deal with, like when we have criminals, we deal with them. We don't just. It's crazy. I hear stories all the time about New York and places on the West Coast where like no bail and they're letting people right back out and they end up killing somebody. And I'm like, that does not happen here like ever. I don't think I've ever heard on the news that they let someone out right after they just robbed somebody or something, and then they go kill somebody. Like that's just so crazy.
Well, and why aren't the politicians that allow that to happen? Why aren't they being held accountable? Because they knew. They had to know that person was going to get out and do something that wasn't good. I mean, they need to be held accountable. I mean, they really do.
Right. Yeah.
And why the general masses out here anyway won't wake up and see that blows my mind. And it's funny because those people who, now don't get me wrong, not all law enforcement is good. People act out. I've seen it. I've worked in law enforcement.
Of course. I've even experienced it. Out of, just real quick, I've been in contact with law enforcement tons of times. And, there's been a couple where even I'll say, this officer was definitely acting inappropriate.
Oh, yeah. But the people who are so anti all rules and enforcement, I've noticed two things. Number one, they don't carry any defensive tools. They don't possess any defensive skills. And the first people they're going to call when they have a problem that they can't take care of is the people they wanted to get rid of in the first place. It's just amazing to me. It's like, wait, you can't have it both ways, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just crazy. But really, that's any group of people or individuals is, you know, a few bad apples. For some reason, everyone wants to paint the whole organization or group or whatever as those bad apples. You know, whether it's and again, it happens, and those individuals that do bad things they need to be dealt with. But like, you know, whether it's, you know, a Catholic priest or a church pastor or a school principal or whatever, it's like everyone, when that one individual does something, it's like the whole organization or group is. So with police, it's like a couple bad cops, and like all of a sudden we need to just get rid of them, and like all this stuff. It's just, I don't know. I've never understood why people paint such a broad brush of an entire group off of just a couple of really bad people, I guess.
Well, people think emotionally, not logically. Like, you know, a lot of people lately think I've been hating on silver. Not, absolutely not. I'm just heavy with silver, and I see opportunities that might be bigger elsewhere. But they don't, you know, because they love silver. I mean, that's my favorite precious metal. But I see opportunity elsewhere, so I approach it with a logical standpoint. And it's the same thing with money, right? I hear from people all the time, "Oh, things are getting so expensive." Yeah, they are. How did you vote? How did you vote? Number one. Number two, why are you driving a car you can't afford? Why do you have 6 children if you can't afford one child? Why do you keep making the same mistakes? Why don't you get a second job? Why don't you get a side hustle? So it's just the people that are always focused on certain things. I notice in that realm, don't make an attempt to make anything better for themselves. You ever notice that?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And a lot of people, I think that to sort of go along with the silver and stuff, I think that's a lot of the reason why people don't invest in precious metals. And then also, I've had people comment and say, you know, I've been holding platinum for a few years now and it's gone nowhere, so like I'm out. And that's a very like emotional way of thinking, because like you mentioned with gold, if you backtrack way back in the day on platinum, you're over double your money if you're back in the 90s or 80s picking it up. So regardless of whether you bought at the top or the bottom or whatever, it does go up over time, just like gold. You just got to think about it with a more open mind, I guess. That's another thing, is people are really closed-minded about a lot of things, I think. And if they just kind of sat back and said, you know, is this one thing or this one person, does this represent everything, or is it just like sort of an anomaly, or just like a less likely or less often or frequent occurrence? So, well,
and here's another benefit to metals that people like that don't consider. These 2 buffaloes right here. I think I paid $25.50, $26 for them, whatever. Let's call it 25. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's say in 5 years, it's still worth $25 an ounce. Okay. Well, that's not ideal, but here's the thing. That's $50 I didn't spend on a $6 cup of coffee 4 or 5 times. But you know what I'm saying? That's money I still have. So I didn't fare as well as I wanted, but I still came out better than most people, because if most people don't turn their cash into something, they're going to blow it.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And that's really what I think a lot of the reason why people do that, they blow their money or they spend it on whatever else, is because too much in our society, people care about what other people think about them. So they don't see, you can't just carry around your monster box of Eagles and show it off to everyone. First, they're not going to know what Eagles are or what they're worth. And second, that would just be ridiculous to carry around. So you skimp on other things, right? You buy less nice clothing brands, and you drive maybe an older car, and maybe you live in a smaller house, but you're building up your wealth because you're seeing the future, whereas most people just think like right now in the presence. I guess that's also another thing is, you know, with talking about the police and thinking emotionally, is people think in the moment, they don't think about, you know, the future and stuff.
So what you said is 100% true. I buy my stuff on Walmart.com, my clothes and my shoes, or Amazon, whatever's cheap. I mean, I look unassuming. I don't look poor. I don't look rich. I have 2 vehicles. They're both paid off. One's my dream truck. It's a beautiful 7.3 liter 95 OBS Ford F-250 on 35s.
Yeah,
it's my dream truck, dude. It's paid off. And I drive the Beater, which is like a 98 Ford Ranger, 2-wheel drive, doesn't even have stereo, okay? No AC, no nothing. I mean, the Power Stroke has everything. But the Power Stroke needs $1,500 of stuff put into it because some chick she cut in front of me, and instead of running her and her kid over, I went up on the curb, tanked the ball joint, snapped my lift kit, whatever. So I'm like, oh, okay. Do I got the money? Sure. I'd rather buy metal. I'd rather buy stocks. So I just make sure the Beater's up, it's always ready to rock and roll. I mean, I'm going to deal with a Power Stroke this summer because I miss driving it, but I drive the Beater. That thing looks like it's not even insured, dude. I don't care. I don't care because here's the deal, man. If I look unassuming and even poor at times, people don't expect anything from me. I'm not a target.
That's
it's
very
a beautiful
true.
thing. It's a beautiful thing,
That's very true.
And I don't, and people spend so much money trying to impress people that don't even know who they are and don't care about them. I mean, it's okay to want nice things, but if you're financing that BMW that you can't afford to put gas in, you're an idiot.
Yeah, or buy tires
bottom
from.
line.
It's funny. At the tire shop the other day, there was some guy, brand new BMW. He went in the tire shop. He's like, "What's the cheapest used tires you have?" And I looked at his car and I was like, "You're driving like a $100,000 BMW M6 and you want some cheap used tires?" Like, dude.
Now it could be that he's just financially well minded, but chances are that's all you can afford, and that's probably still going on the credit card.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, it's funny. I mean, people just, they look at this stuff and they're like, this doesn't provide me anything in the moment. So, why would I put my money there? So I guess that's why a lot of people don't get into stacking, but there's still a lot that are. It's kind of interesting.
The average person doesn't have $500 saved for an emergency.
Yeah.
This tube right here, Buffalo's, well, it's a bunch of generics, but it's got 18 in it because the other two that go in are sitting out here.
Right.
What's that? That's over $500 right now, silver price. And
exactly.
I got tubes of these for days, buddy.
Right.
And people will make fun of me like, oh, you drive your Beater, blah, blah, blah. Who cares? How much money you got? Well, I can't afford DoorDash till payday. Well, that's where we differ,
Exactly. One of those Buffaloes will get you DoorDash, and you got 20 right there. Like,
it's crazy. People, the mindset is different, and I don't mean to sound cruel, but
right.
I was very, very poor in 2008 when I started stacking. I was so poor that I didn't know if I could pay rent, if I could pay electricity. It was bad, and I realized that was my fault. It was my choices, and people who live their lives and never figure it out and never think in terms of, saving. I don't care if you're saving in silver, gold, Bitcoin, stocks, whatever it is. If they don't reach that point, they deserve to be poor. I'm sorry, because they're doing it to themselves.
Yeah. I mean, truly. And that's why, truly. And I think a lot of that has to do with, our society, and a lot of the thinking that some people have is that, like, they want like the government or just the wealthy or whoever to provide for all the less fortunate. But at the end of the day, like you said, I mean, if you're in whatever position you're in, it's most likely because that's kind of where you put yourself. So, I mean, you really just got to kind of take a look back and say, if you aren't making good decisions, how can you make good decisions? Or if you already made a whole bunch of bad decisions, what are you going to do now? Like,
oh man, you're making me think a couple different directions. So the wealthy, being expected to take care of people. So I spend too much time on Facebook in like local news postings, and everyone's always saying, oh, tax the rich. I said, no, you don't want that. And here's the reason why. They own businesses, a lot of them. And if you tax the rich, they're going to raise the cost on goods and services to people like us. And they usually hit the laugh emoji because they really do not understand that. And it blows my mind. And then I was having a conversation. This is about a year ago. I stopped at a bar one night, went on the back patio, and I was talking. And this one lady's like, well, these billionaires, blah, 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 they need to take care of us and give us more. I said, they need to cut their bonuses. I said, no, wait a minute. I said, they took all the risk by starting that company. All the financial risk. They took all the risk in hiring employees that could have sued them at any time. They took all the financial risk of failure. They gave people jobs. They said, if you don't like the way the system works, maybe you need to become that person taking that risk if you want those rewards. And she goes, you're offending me. I said, no, I'm trying to rewire your flawed thinking. And the guy standing next to her boyfriend, he looks over at her, shakes his head and goes, he's right, don't you? Oh, that was awesome.
Yeah.
I could tell she wasn't pleased, but it's just this mindset people have, man.
Yeah. And like A&L Futures just said in the chat, what do you think about the new minimum wage increase in California? Yeah, I've heard about that too.
Oh.
And it's easy. It's easy. You don't even have to be a rocket scientist. You raise minimum wage to like $20 for McDonald's workers. What's that going to do? Just think about it for a second, non-biasedly, not politically. Just think about it for like 1 second. What is that going to do? I mean, cost of business goes up, everything goes up. Like, I mean, it's simple.
Well, I'll tell you. So in Oregon, I manage a restaurant. That's what I do. And in Oregon, I'd say over the last, and this is just, I'm ballparking this, guys, but I'd say in the last 10 years, minimum wage has probably gone up $6, $7 an hour in total. So it used to be you could come in and get a one topping large pizza for $19.80. Now it's like $26.90. That's what it does. That's what it does.
Exactly.
And then people come in and they're complaining about it. Oh, why are your menu prices so high? And they got purple and blue hair, so I know which way they voted. And I'm like, well, when minimum wage goes up, the cost of us buying product goes up because the person packaging it is getting paid more. My employees make more money. I have to make it up by raising menu prices. And they're perplexed. They don't understand it.
Right. And then building costs go up, and then rent goes up, and utilities go up because those workers are getting raises too. And
everyone gets their hours cut too. Like we run a skeleton crew as much as possible because we simply can't afford not to.
Right.
So no one's getting ahead. Everyone's getting poorer, but they just don't see it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I run, it's not my full-time job, but I run a vending business on the side, and I've had to increase prices of my products because the cost to buy them has gone up. And then, the customers get mad at me, and it's like,
yep.
I don't know what to tell you. Like, it's out of my control, really. I mean, I could pack up my machines and take them with me and put them somewhere else, but I don't think y'all want that. But
I had a lady the other day. So we have a lunch special. It's $10. It's like an individual pizza, a one-trip salad bar, and a soda. It's $10, right? It's a good deal. Well, it's a 2-topping deal. She adds like 2 extra toppings, so the price goes up to like, I don't know, $12.40 or something. And she's like, "Okay, I'll be there in 20 minutes." I'm like, "Great." She gets there and she goes off on me. "Why didn't you tell me it was more than the $10 for the 2 toppings?" Lady, you got 4 toppings. I shouldn't have to. You agreed to the price, and I shouldn't have to tell you that. With more product comes a higher cost for me to give it to you. Therefore, you pay the difference. It's just mind blowing, dude.
Right.
She was so mad.
Jeez.
So
over a couple bucks.
Well, to your point, though, I mean, your costs as a business owner have gone up. You have to pass that off to the customer. It's just the way it works.
Yeah. I mean,
and whether it's minimum wage or tax increases or both, doesn't matter. The result is the same. You have to compensate by raising prices.
Right. And so it's like, it's really lose-lose for the business because, well, and I guess the customer could pay the same price, but you're going to wait longer. You're going to get worse service because you're hiring probably somebody who's always got a bad attitude and can't get a job anywhere else or whatever. And so the whole experience and everything's going to go down. So it's either you pay the more price or like you are going to suffer over here, but either way, they're going to complain. They're going to complain about the price. They're going to complain about the service. But something's going to have to happen. So
you're absolutely right on all that. It's crazy, So I don't know, man. And that's what I like about this community is most of us are pretty hip to what's going on politically, financially, logically. There are a couple that are kind of out there, but for the most part, this community, we're all pretty much on similar pages, which is what I like.
Yeah, that is really nice. A lot of people in the stacking community, and I mean, you really gotta kind of be in that way. If you're putting your money into this rather than, like you said, Starbucks or just other dumb stuff you don't need, I think that just kind of brings about a wise mindset, and you understand economics and stuff like that. So it is pretty cool how most of the community is on the same page. What's interesting though about the minimum wage topic is down here in Georgia, we haven't raised our minimum wage since the federal minimum wage. It's still $7.25 here.
Wow.
However, nobody pays that. Not the Dollar Tree, not Walmart. Nobody actually pays that. They pay higher. So that raising of the minimum wage in states out west and stuff, or New York or whatever, realistically, if a business is able to produce enough and competition in the market and stuff, it'll drive the wages up anyways, but to where it should be, not forced to be drawn up, and then you raise the price. So inflation must be much higher in places like that than here, even.
And that, what you just said right there, is a perfect example of what we like to call free market capitalism, and that's why it works.
Yeah, like that's why I love being in a right to work state. We have very few unions here. Like there's some like UPS and USPS and stuff, but they're almost all jobs are non-union. And so it's very competitive, but you're free to go wherever you want and work. And if they pay you enough, great. If they don't, ask the next guy down the road. And now they're competing for your worker. Right. And they're going to offer, higher wages just naturally. So we haven't had to increase our minimum wage because it just goes up with whatever the market is. So like if you work in Atlanta, you're probably going to get paid more than if you work like in one of these rural towns way outside of Atlanta, because it's more costly to live in the city. And so they're going to just pay a wage that you can live with, basically.
Instead of all paying the same high wage they can't afford and topping out there. So right. Neil says unions rock only if you're in them. If you're not in them and you're paying for the goods and services they provide, it's not good on the receiving end. Yeah. And then West Texas wants to know how I feel about tipping being included. I got mixed feelings, and here's why. Number one, I think if you go somewhere like a sit-down place and you don't tip, I think you shouldn't go out to eat. I think that's horrible. If you're having someone bring you food that's using their own car, especially, and you don't tip, I think there should be a special place in the basement for you when you expire, because that's just evil. Right. However, tipping being included, I think it kind of off-puts the customer, but at the same time, people are getting so friggin' cheap. I get why it's done, and we all have that. We all have the option to not eat at places that do that. So, whatever. I guess is my answer. Whatever. I mean, I see both ends of it.
Yeah. Unions. As far as unions, so like. Yeah, like you said, it works if you work for a union, but like on the receiving end, it's just like it just drives up everything, really.
And let me tell you something about unions. I got a buddy. I'm sure he's not watching this. He's a union welder. He makes like $50 an hour, and then when he goes out of town, he makes like 60 or something. Guy is always broke, and he's actually gotten better. But I'm like, dude, you have no excuse to be broke. Come on.
Yeah,
it's crazy. It's just crazy. Well, I've ranted long enough, man. I hope everyone has unsubject.
Yeah, we've been going for about an hour and 12 minutes here.
I thought I had a lot of fun, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I did too. I wasn't even sure what to expect with this, but it was a lot of fun. I mean, I know we didn't interact that much with the chat, so sorry, Chad, if we missed some of your questions or what have you. But me and Constitutional were just getting to know each other a little bit, and maybe that allowed y'all the opportunity to get to know each of us a little better too.
Well, and I love the people that come into the show. I recognize a lot of them. I hope to get to know the ones that I don't. Y'all are phenomenal. You can spend your time anywhere you want, but the fact that you decide to spend it with us, I appreciate y'all very much.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks all of y'all, and thanks. I think there was a super chat in there that I missed from A&L. Thanks for that, A&L.
There was, yeah.
Appreciate it.
Well, and supers are always appreciated because Google doesn't pay what a lot of people think it pays. It doesn't. And I'm not in it for the money, but it cost me $1,000 just to start the channel, and that was before with the equipment I bought. And that was before I even gave away 10 ounces on my 1,000 sub giveaway. So we're not breaking the bank here. So things like that are always appreciated by all of us. For sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, West Coast or West Texas. Thanks for joining us. I know you're a follower of Constitutional, but
he's got his own channel too.
Oh, does he? Okay, I'll have to check that out.
He's got a channel on Rumble and a channel on YouTube. So he's over on Rumble, and so am I. And so check West Texas out. He's a good dude.
Yeah, I definitely will. And I gotta figure out Rumble. Everyone keeps talking about it, but I haven't really dove into it yet.
Email me when you do, because you get monetized immediately on Rumble, FYI.
Okay.
But I've got 50 videos out there. I'm up to $18. It's a struggle.
Yeah.
It doesn't pay what Google pays, but I've been locked up in jail on YouTube twice. I've been in the YouTube state penitentiary twice for nothing.
Wow.
I've had videos taken down. West Texas just went through that. So that is ultimately what forced me over to Rumble, because when Google just decides to be Google and just removes me someday, I want somewhere to a fallback,
Right.
So
Do you just repost your videos over there on Rumble?
Absolutely not. That doesn't pay jack. But you can when you upload over there, there's 4 different options. You want to select Rumble only. So change the content slightly. Edit something out, whatever you got to do, because Rumble that's how you find success on Rumble. When you sync your videos, you don't make anything.
Gotcha.
I mean, very, very little. And you want to, I mean, not that you make much anyway, but you want to select Rumble only. And when you upload, it'll get stuck at 33% for about 10 minutes. Hang in there, because that's normal. It takes about 2 to 3 times longer to upload on Rumble, but it's very similar other than that.
Mistakes were made, said he's still on MySpace. Oh, man.
Y'all remember this? Okay. So, I got to say this. So I want this shirt that I saw years ago, but nobody would get it now. It said "From MySpace to My Place." You remember back in the day how that all went down?
Gosh.
I would rock that shirt, but no one would get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh man, I just think it's funny.
That is pretty funny.
You got anything else you want to go over, man?
No, I think that's pretty much it. That pretty much wraps up pretty much the stream.
Well, anytime you want to do one on my channel, so that my people that don't know you can get to know you, I'm we can schedule one.
Yeah, we'll have to do that. I think that'd be fun. We'll get that scheduled up. I'll send you an email.
Right on.
Yeah, but thanks everyone once again for dropping by and talking to each other in the chat and just listening to us go back and forth. It's been a whole lot of fun.
Just don't forget when you close the chat to click end chat in StreamYard, or we'll go on for the end of time.
Yeah. I'll do that. I'll be sure to do that.
All right. Well, thanks everybody. All I got to say is, as usual, keep stacking.
Yep. And until next time, we'll see y'all.